What's going on, boys and girls? I hope you all had a lovely weekend. This is my rather delayed match review video for Arsenal's 0-0 draw with Nottingham Forest on the weekend. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I did a pretty quick video reaction to this result yesterday. It was a heat of the moment type video. I was pretty angry at the time. I wasn't really applying a lot of, sensibility to it. I was just raging at what, in my opinion, was just another missed opportunity by this team. And so it was a very angry video. I didn't get around to posting it yesterday just due to commitments on the day. And so I was going to post it today. But then I woke up to the news that Aston Villa had lost to Everton. And it just started to make me think that I think the video yesterday was a little bit of an overreaction. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, I just want to see that honest, raw post-match reaction. And I totally get that. But what I wanted to do ultimately was try and put out a video that I felt was a little bit more balanced and a video that came from a position of now knowing exactly where we sit following the weekend's results. So I'll still kind of give you the sense of my feeling of that game, but then I'll try and apply a little bit more of the kind of bigger picture thinking to it all from my point of view. And everyone's got their right to have their view on it. I won't shy away from the fact that I was very disappointed with the team. I was very disappointed with the way we played. Again, I felt like this was another performance where we just didn't have the urgency or I didn't see the desire from the players. I didn't see the desire from the players to go and win this match. And that's what's really frustrating for me. I feel like there's been too many occasions this season where Arsenal Football Club have been presented with an opportunity to either lay down a real marker, really kind of put that flag in the ground and say, we are here, we are the best, or when there's been an opportunity to stretch our lead at the top because of another team's misfortune, we just haven't taken the opportunity. And I think it's always come back to the way we've actually played and the mentality and the approach we've taken in the game, which has essentially led to the actual result. So it's a byproduct of the way we've approached the game. And after the Liverpool result, where I was really angry again with the performance and the way we approached it, I thought after watching Man City get smoked by Manchester United that we would have learnt our lesson and that we would have gone into this game all guns blazing, if you like. Now, that might not be how football works, I get it. Nottingham Forest is not a straightforward match. It was away from home, at the City ground, nighttime fixture. They knew that they had to try and collect some kind of points after seeing West Ham beat Tottenham. And essentially they are fighting for their life in the Premier League. So every game counts and every point counts. So it was never going to be a straightforward performance. But in my mind, Arsenal should have walked into this almost feeling like it was a bit of a free hit. You know, they've just seen City slip up again. And this was an opportunity for us to just go in and really go for it. I know Arteta loves dominance and he loves control, but surely we have enough, even if it turned into some sort of a basketball match, to have enough to outpower Nottingham Forest and win the game. So, yeah, I was just disappointed with the way we approached it. Wasn't convinced by the team selection. I understand that I think he referenced the fact that Saka maybe was dealing with a bit of a knock following the Chelsea game, and that's why he didn't start. But I think in a game like this, you want your best players on the field. That's my opinion. And I know, look, we're not really kind of diving into player welfare and rest and rotation. And I know we've got a squad whereby we should be able to trust the players that come in. But my approach would have been to play your best 11, put yourself in a winning position, and then make changes. That would have been my approach. I think it's really interesting that Miles Lewis-Skelly just doesn't seem to be considered as a left-back option. We've got Calafiori and Nketiah both out, and he still refuses to play Lewis-Skelly at left-back, which I find interesting given how good of a job he did last season. I just find it odd that doesn't seem to be an option anymore. It's also frustrating because it means that Timber just has to play game. And I thought Timber, for the first time in a while, looked quite jaded in this match. He looked not quite on it, which is unusual for Timber. I also find it incredibly odd that Eze doesn't seem to be getting a look in. I know he eventually came on in this game, but that was after Merino had came on for Odegaard, and that seems to be the preferred substitution, is Merino for Odegaard at the moment, which I just can't quite get my head around. If I look at individual performances, I don't think anyone stood up to the level required. I want to particularly point out Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard is a player with huge capability. We've seen what he can deliver for this team in previous seasons go by, so I hold him to a certain standard, and I think for too long now he has been well below that standard. One of my biggest frustrations with Odegaard is how soft he is. For someone that plays in the centre of the park for Arsenal, I implore you to just spend 20 minutes in a game watching Martin Odegaard and Martin Odegaard only. He gets bumped off the ball so easily. He barely goes in for any sort of duel. And whenever there is any kind of 50-50 duel, he will always lose that battle. He's just so weak. And he shows no interest in terms of kind of putting his body on the line or coming out the better in any sort of kind of 50-50 duel. I honestly beg you to watch 20 minutes of Martin Odegaard and really pay attention to how bad he is at kind of coming out with the ball in 50-50 moments. And I really think it's starting to affect the way we play football. It's almost like we are down a man with Odegaard in the middle of the field. And I could forgive that if he was at least scoring goals and creating, 2-3 goal scoring opportunities for other players, but he's not even doing that either. So right now I'm struggling to see what value Odegaard is bringing to this team, if that's just my honest opinion. What else? In terms of moments in the game, I mean, look, let's face it. This was not a game where at any point I felt like Forest were going to score a goal or win the game. I thought this was another game where Arsenal dominated the majority of the possession. But once again, we did nothing with that possession. Once again, for all the dominance, for all of the ball control, we just didn't create enough chances. And the few chances that were created, we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And that has been one of our biggest problems for a very long time. That Martinelli chance in the first half, that has to be a goal. It has to be a goal. There is no other way of looking at it. That ball has to go in the back of the net. And if that ball goes in the back of the net, I am certain that we win 1-0 comfortably, or we go on and win by 2 or 3. The only other chance that I can really think of is the Saka header in the second half. It was a really good effort by Saka, a great save by the Forest goalkeeper. But outside of that, nothing really to write home about. The penalty incident, in my opinion, it's 100% a penalty, but I think we know where we're at now with VAR and refereeing decisions, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of whether Arsenal end up on the wrong side more than not with VAR decisions, but I just don't understand how that can be considered not a handball. He has moved his arm in order to stop that ball from going out from a corner. That is what he's done. In a moment of panic, he has moved and positioned his arm so that ball hits his arm and doesn't go out for a corner. So how that can be considered not a penalty, I do not know, but it is what it is. I'm still incredibly confident that we win this Premier League. The problem is that my confidence doesn't necessarily come from the way we're playing. It comes from the fact that the so-called title rivals are just not to the level that they need to be in order to wrestle this back from us. That's my belief. And that's where I get frustrated, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, I don't care how we win this Premier League. All I care about is that we win it. But at the same time, I would like us to win it with an air of like, we won it in style, or we won it by a big margin, or we won it by scoring the most goals, or we won it by having the best defensive record. I think, and again, it doesn't matter, who cares, but the rival fans and media, if we continue to kind of proceed the way this Premier League's proceeding, i.e. just kind of winning games and doing our thing without really blowing teams away or taking advantage of these opportunities when they present themselves, the narrative will probably be more along the lines of Arsenal were just the best of a bad bunch, or the other teams let them, handed it to them. And that will be frustrating. Like, I won't care, but it will be frustrating, and it will be something that other fans and media probably try and put our way. So it would be just nice if we could kind of really just kind of go on now and just kind of insert a real level of dominance so that we can say not only did we win the Premier League, but we did it like true champions and in real style. And maybe that's not, feasible, maybe that's not realistic, but that's just my opinion. I think the other reason why this result concerns me is more about thinking more long term. As I said, every time I feel like Arsenal have been presented with an opportunity to either lay down a marker or to take advantage of an opportunity, we haven't been able to get the job done. And that concerns me as we go into, your Carabao Cup finals or your Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals, or your FA Cup quarterfinals, semi-finals. When the pressure's on, when you need to deliver, when you need to get that result, are we going to be able to do it? Are we going to be able to get the job done? That's what concerns me. At the moment, I don't feel like we've proved that we know how to do that. The other thing that concerns me is our attack, as it has all season. I think defensively, you can't argue that we're as good as it gets defensively. In saying that, I don't think that we've looked as sharp defensively as we maybe did at the beginning of the season. I know injuries have played a role in that, but I still feel like we're now at a position where, we can concede the odd goal, which means that if you concede a goal, you've got to saw to your win. And this team, it looks difficult for us to score goals on occasion. I know we've had moments, the Aston Villa 4-1 is a great example where it all clicked and it looked great. 3-1 against Bayern Munich, the game against Tottenham, the goals flow and everything looks rosy. But all in all, we've just looked clunky going forward. I don't think the attack has clicked in any means. I'm not convinced by any of our attacking players. Gyökeres, is still a mystery that's yet to be solved. Jesus looks lively, but again, he's not your killer in front of goal. Havertz is just coming back from injury, but hasn't exactly set the world on fire. Madueke, for me, looks lively at times, but has no end product. Saka's been well off his best. I think Trossard has been, all in all, our best attacking player so far this season, but I thought he was non-existent against Forest when he came on, which concerned me. I think Martinelli, again, despite having some decent numbers this season, I don't think he's the answer. So I really do think our attack needs to improve a lot if we are going to go on and really kind of do something special this season. As I said, I think we will win the Premier League. Even if we just kind of stay on course for where we're at now, I think we'll win the Premier League because I don't believe the other teams are going to be able to stop us. And I think we will be able to maintain a level of consistency. But if you're asking me right now if I feel like we can win a Champions League or an FA Cup, I'm not sure because I don't know if the attack is delivering what it needs to be delivering in order to win those games when you're not playing too well or to take those chances when they come along. And that's ultimately what you need in cup competitions. You need for players to step up and you need for goals to be scored when the opportunities come your way. That semi-final against Paris Saint-Germain last season is a perfect example of what happens when you don't take your opportunities. So yeah, like I said, I'm trying to apply some big picture thinking. The reality is we sit here today on Monday, 7 points clear of second place. That is a very good position to be in. Should it be better? Yes. It should be a better position. Does it still give Manchester City a glimmer of hope that they're in this? 100%. And that's my concern. Yeah, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, it's been a positive return for Arsenal. At the end of the day, we've extended our lead from 6 points to 7, so we just have to focus on that and move into the next one. But I do think there's still a lot of questions to be answered by this Arsenal team. For all of the amazing stuff they've done so far this season, they've put themselves in a great position across all 4 competitions. But I still think we need to turn the heat up. I think we need to go up a few gears if we genuinely want to do something really special this season. So yeah, now the focus is on Inter Milan in the Champions League. I really think we need to rotate in that game. As nice as it would be to produce another big performance in the Champions League, that the priority has to be beating Manchester United this coming weekend. So rest some players against Inter and then all attention on potentially resurgent Manchester United. I watched the highlights of that game, and Manchester United looked bloody good. They dominated Manchester City, so they won't be an easy proposition. So all of our energy needs to be focused on that Manchester United game, because I don't want to be giving Man City any more of a sniff in this Premier League title race. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.